Hello, students. Today we're going to do a table. We're going to create a table, as you can see right here. Just a simple table with little blocks and a little, leg created by revolving a curve and then a plane at the very top. So we're going to start from scratch. Let's start a new scene. I'm not going to save this one. That's how Maya presents itself with a perspective view. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the space bar so that we can go into the four views, three additional views. That's what I was thinking. And I'm going to go on to the side view right now, actually, to kind of, look at how the side view presents itself. Remember, we're going to create that curve for the table leg on the side view. So what I'm going to do is under the shelves right here, I'm going to click onto this icon that is the EP curve tool, and I'm going to simply, very, simply drag, click, and then hit return when I'm done with the table leg. So right here, when I hit the space bar again and I go into perspective view, I can see that my table leg is right there. So what I want to do at this point is revolve this table leg. So I'm going to go into the revolve menu, and there's under surfaces revolve, and I'm going to actually go into this option box in which I can decide which geometry I want. I often go under edit reset settings, so it will forget whatever setting I have set up the time before I use Maya, because sometimes it messes things up. I have a setting that I don't remember and I go and do my revolve assuming that there is the default setting and it's not default. What I'm going to say here is, instead of NURBS, I'm going to say that I want a polygon, for example. Means the mesh that will be generated by revolving this curve is going to be a poly mesh. So I'm going to say revolve, and there it is. Now I have all triangle, and I might not want that. So I'm going to do Apple Z, and I'm going to do the same exact thing. I wanted to show you that's the default is a triangle oftentimes. So what you want to do under polygons, if you scroll down, is you want to specify that you want quads. And there it is. Now I have my table leg. So keep in mind, I'm going to right now, with that selected, go under layers, and I'm going to create a layer from the selected object. What I want to do next is I want to go and select my curve instead, and it's going to be hard to select it. So one way to do it is go under Window, Outliners. In the outliner, just like in the hypergraph, it'll show you everything that is present on your document. So if I click on curve, it will select that curve. And what I want to do again is say layers, create layer from selected. That way I'm separating the curve from the surface. In fact, if right now I hit this V for visibility and I turn that surface, that mesh off, I can see only the curve. What I want to tell you right now is this concept of history in Maya, and this is the history button that by default is always turned on. And what the history does, it basically keeps in memory everything you do in Maya, and in this case my curve is generating that surface, in quote, is the parent of that surface, that is the child. So if right now, for example, I go and modify this curve by right mouse clicking, and I'm going to say that I want to modify, for example, a control vertex right here. And I'm going to go and select any of these and hit W to go into the move tool. And I move that curve to be different, for example, to look more like this. And I use the arrow keys, by the way, to navigate through the various points. I want to push this one up a little bit and this one out a little bit, and etc, etc. So I kind of navigate through my points and I modify my curve. Now whenever I'm done with it and I go back to my hierarchy selection mode, that means through I have the whole curve selected right there. As soon as I turn on my surface layer, you will see that the surface layers as well has changed. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that this basically curve generates that surface and is kept in memory in Maya, that that surface is driven by the curve, unless you delete the history. Obviously I don't like, the mouth of that leg to be so wide, because I'm going to put a cube right underneath it. So I am changing. Now notice that when I want to go on this general selection mode, in which I have the entire curve selected, I use this hierarchy selection mode. Versus if I want to go and select my little dots, I really want to be on this selection mode, that is the component selection mode. So keep that in mind. So now, having done this modification of the curve and having taught you how this surface and this curve are tied together, I also want to show you that if I actually select that surface and I go under modify, actually sorry, edit, delete, delete all by type history. I'm deleting the history right now. So now when I go and actually again I turn my surface off and I go onto the curve and I select, as I did earlier, control vertex, I go onto my selection mode to see those vertices, and now I'm going to move this all the way out. And now if I turn my surface back on, you'll see that there isn't any more connections between the two. So just keep in mind that the history is going to be on and active for you up to the point that you break that history. And I'm actually going to delete that curve that I don't need anymore. So what I want to do next is I want to hit on the space bar, go onto my perspective view, and I want to create a cube right at the bottom and right at the top of this leg. So I'm going to go under create, polygon primitives, cube, and Maya prompts me to click and drag to set the base, and then click and drag to set the height of this cube. And I cannot really tell how it's proportionate, how it's located exactly. So I'm going to hit the space bar and go under, for example, the top view and hit the W key so that I can actually position my cube exactly in the center of the axis. I could have easily used snap tools that we will definitely use in the rocket exercise, but I wanted for now to keep it a little bit simple, not give you too many commands. I'm going to use the R tool actually. I'm going to scale it a tiny bit smaller. And now I'm going to go onto the side view to see where is our cube located compared to our leg, and I'm going to zoom in by using the middle wheel in the mouse, and I can see that it needs, right now I'm holding command or control and using again that middle mouse button, and I can see that my table leg needs to be moved in a little bit, so I'm going to hit W and I'm going to move it up just a little bit. There it is. I could move this object also a little bit down to the ground, and I could scale it a little bit narrower. It's a little bit too wide for my taste. So I'm going to hit R and I'm going to scale it a little bit to be a little bit smaller and more graceful. So if I go now onto my perspective view, right, there we are, I can see my two pieces. In fact, if I hit 5, I can see the shaded view of my two pieces, and holding command and left mouse button, I can dolly and see all my art in all its beauty. Remember, middle mouse allows you to pan up and down. So now I need to make a box up here. One way to do it is by simply selecting this box and duplicating it. So Command D will duplicate it, and then I'm going to hit W because I want to simply move it, and then I'm going to do the R because I definitely want to scale it smaller. So R, and if I drag from this center point, it will scale the entire box, versus if I drag onto these, it will obviously scale in the various directions and through the various axes of Maya. And I'm going to actually get out of here and go on to the side view. Now if you do A, if you hit the A, it will show you the entire work. If you hit F, it will show you the part that you have selected. So I'm going to go to actually the A. I'm going to scale it to be a little bit bigger in this direction, and then I'm going to obviously move it down just a little bit, and there we are. So now I only need to pretty much, actually I'm going to go back to that view because I can see it's not centered properly, but I can obviously go onto the top view and make sure that everything is centered as it should be. And there it is. It's pretty close. I'm actually centering the center of each box on the center of my axis. Perfect. So now what I would like to do, just to give it a little bit more sophistication, is a little bevel at the bottom of my, actually let me go in the 3D view to do the bevel at the bottom of these legs, and I'm going to just do it for the bottom here for this cube. Obviously I could do it to the top as well. But if I select this cube and I right mouse click and I choose edge, and make sure you're on this mode right now on the component, and I click on this object, and I'm going to hit Q so the manipulator goes away and you indeed see that I'm selecting that edge. Now if you click once, it will select one edge, but if you actually click twice, it will select the entire line. So I'm going to hold the shift key and actually click twice on the 4 sides, so I have all my edges selected, and then under oops, sorry, edit surfaces, let me actually find the bevel. What we should have done is put that bevel command in the shelf. But anyway, edit mesh bevel. It's under the polygon menus, by the way. So yeah, I'm going to go into bevel and I'm going to let it go. And there we are. I got a nice little beveled edge. Okay, as I said, we could do it to this side as well. In fact, why don't we? Why don't we go onto this box right here, do the same thing, choose edge, make sure I'm on the right mode, zoom a little bit closer. That is Command, Control, click and drag. And then I'm going to double click. Oops, actually I made a mistake. Actually, let me deselect. Double click on this edge, double click on this edge. I'm holding the shift key so that I can indeed select all my pieces that I need. I'm adding to the selection. And there we are. Oops. And now I have all my 4 pieces selected. I want to make sure there's nothing else selected. That's perfect. And then I'm going to go again and edit mesh and bevel. All right, so now that I have kind of a little bit of a better looking leg and I need to make copies of it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and select the 3 pieces. Oops, obviously I need to be in hierarchy selection mode and not in the component one. And I'm going to do Command G. In fact, I want to have the outliner open when I do that so that you can see right here that these 3 pieces are separate, but in the minute in which I do Apple G or Command G, sorry, it becomes a group. And there we are. Now keep in mind that the hypergraph will serve the same purpose of the outliner. That means here we are. It's showing me that there is a group and that my 3 pieces are in it. It's just 2 different ways to see it. One is in text format and one is more of a graphic format. Okay, now that I have that copy, leg made, I'm going to create a copy. And I'm actually going to do it on the top view. I'm going to deselect, actually I'm going to reselect, I apologize, and I'm going to do Command D and then hit W so that you can move it out, and then select both and do Command D again, or Apple D, and now we have my 4 legs. So all I need to do right now at this point is to create a plane that encompasses all my legs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say create polygon primitives cubes once again. I'm going to click and drag. And then I'm going to give it a little height. If it's too high, no big deal. I'm going to go in my usual, the channels right here. I'm going to go in Polycube where I can see all my subcomponents. And the height is definitely too high. I'm going to put 0.5, enter. It could be even less, 0.25, but just let's make this table nice and massive. And then I obviously need to use my 4 views to make sure that, you know, the table is the right size. Like as I can see here, I need to hit R and make it a little bit smaller. W will move it, and that's kind of what I need, more or less. As I said, for this exercise, we're going to kind of do a bit of an eyeballing, and later on we'll definitely be more precise. Side views looks good enough. Definitely, if I go into my perspective view, I can see that my table is looking pretty good. So keep that in mind. Now, another thing I did not mention in this video, and I want to, is if you have an object selected that is, you know, curved, you have different ways to see that object. And if you hit the various keys, like, you know, 3 around to round your object, you notice the difference between, like, this is 1 and this is 3. And so the 1, 2, and 3 are 3 different levels of roundiness of your object. So from the 1 that is a straight polygon to the 2 that is polygon and roundness mode, let's call it roundness mode, to the 3 that you see the roundy mode, and then obviously 4 is wireframe, 5 is shaded mode, and then we have 6 and 7 that is with lighting and with materials. So keep that in mind. All right, this is the table for you.